girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival returns to historic Cruise Stadium. Slipknot, Disturbed, Pantera, The Original Misfits, Evanescence, Limp Bizkit, Judas Priest, Stain, Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember, Falling in Reverse, Sleep Token, Rise Again, 311, Seether, Mudvayne, and many more. May 16th through the 19th, Columbus, Ohio. Tickets on sale now at SonicTempleFestival.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And real quick housekeeping note, if you're watching us on YouTube or BitChute or Rumble or Odyssey, please hit that follow and subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple, Google, whatever podcast platform you utilize, please hit that follow and subscribe button so we can continue to bring you conversations like the one I'm about to bring you today. I'm very, very excited about today's interview. I know I've been blessed to have a lot of really cool people on here with some amazing stories and some conversations. But this man right here, I've had the pleasure of getting to know for the past several years. And every time we talk, he's a huge inspiration on my life. And I'm blessed to call him a friend today. My friend, Mr. Tommy Hollenstein. How you doing, Tommy?
Good. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. So Tommy, usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to, get a quick background. But do you remember like what you originally wanted to be when you grew up?
At what age?
Yeah, like as a little kid.
Age, he was probably a popsicle man. Just a kid.
Yeah.
But my dad was in the restaurant business, so I always kind of thought I'd fall into the restaurant business for quite a few years.
Okay. And then like, when was it where, art started calling you?
Well, I was always into art since I was a kid. Since 4 or 5 years old, I was creating and doing stuff with my hands, whether it was drawing, painting, and then getting into building, bicycles, BMX bicycles, taking them down, tearing them apart, reupholstering the seats and stuff like that, making custom paint colors, changing the paints every month or whatever. And then in the elementary school, then I started, they started allowing me to paint backgrounds for the plays and different things. And then I got into, making custom skateboards and then once I had some VW vans, I was doing all the woodwork and that, and just always doing something creative with my hands,
Nice. Yeah, so it's always been kind of like a calling of yours.
It was, but
and,
I never really, I thought maybe we would have a future at it, but then, I forget which teacher, 5th grade, 6th grade, said, no, art's a hobby, you got to pick a career. So at that point, I'm thinking, how am I going to get my parents to ever pay for art school? So I just kind of was always keeping it on the side all the way to school and stuff, through school.
Yeah, it's funny, even people that with the best intentions, how they can, kind of disrupt pursuing our dreams, as a kid. We can either have a positive influence that encourages you no matter how far out it sounds. But, I dealt with the same kind of stuff. Like, when I was a kid, I used to like record on a cassette tape, like make my own shows. I was inspired by Johnny Carson and the Tonight Show and stuff, like having interviews and stuff like this. And you know, and my parents are like, well, you know, yeah. So I thought about getting into radio and stuff like that. And they're like, nah, you need to get a real 9 to 5. And, you know, with the best intentions, you know, but now here I am, you know, 50 years old, finally getting to, you know, do what I wanted to do as a kid.
Right.
But you're also like a big fan of music and everything. And what was like some of your early influences in music?
I mean, what was it? Well, first probably Led Zeppelin. Well, I mean, early, even before the Beach Boys, got into Led Zeppelin, Jethro Tull, Eagles, David Bowie, The Who, a lot of rock. You know,
Yeah. And then you had mentioned like putting together like BMX bikes and stuff as part of your like creative side growing up. But, you know, I'd read that you were involved in like, you know, kind of more like the extreme sports types. And, you know, you said skateboard decks and stuff like that. And then you even did surfing and everything, correct?
I did, yeah. I mean, the first thing I got into was the BMX and BMX racing, BMX bicycles. I mean, out here, you know, Canoga Park next to Reseda is where BMX really first got started. We were building the first bikes, really, you know, going down to Midas Muffler and, you know, cutting off parts of the sissy bar and making crossbars and you know, redoing the frames and all kinds of different things. And then BMX started to take off pretty good. Then once I grew out of that, then I went into skateboarding, got really into skateboarding, and I would take wood shop in summer school, and I would start making custom wood skateboards. And I got into competing in that. And, you know, I mean, I've still got some of my old stickers and some old stuff from the 70s, you know, back when it was first really getting started. You know, skater cross, and there was a place called Toilet Bowl by my house, which was a big drainage ditch that it was first some of the first type pool type stuff, pool skating type stuff. And then I got into surfing in 8th grade. Once I discovered surfing and started going every weekend, and that was really my passion, my love. You know, I got to competing through WSA, then NSSA in college, and I surfed for Pepperdine's team. And I moved to Newport Beach when I went to Orange Coast College for a couple of years and surfed Newport Beach for a couple of years straight. And like I said, I had a VW van, so every weekend I'd always take off and go do a weekend trip down to San Diego or up north to Santa Barbara, Rincon, various beaches, depending on, you know, if it's summer or winter.
Yeah, so you got like really active in that scene for a little while then, huh?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, living in Southern California, 20 minutes from Malibu Beach. You know, and at one point, my parents had a condo right in county line. And I got my first job out of high school was flipping burgers at the Line Shack, which was a hamburger stand on PCH, right across from Neptune's Net. It's no longer there, so people don't even have any idea there used to be a hamburger stand. And the owners, Ray Gann and Clark Merritt, then they built a surf shop alongside of it as well, Pacific Vision Surfboards. So yeah, it was the job of the year for sure. You know, you get 2 surf breaks, paid cash, and a hamburger meal for free every day.
Yeah, I think I remember you sharing that story with me before. Like, yeah, you get the flip burgers, get fed, and then on lunch break, get to go hit the waves.
Exactly.
Nice. And then, you know, as that went on, you know, like, I think some of your top 3 things that I recall talking to you about were like, you know, surfing, sunshine, and women.
Wow.
You know, as you started getting older there, you know, what was that whole culture like in that scene back in that day?
Well, I mean, it was just there was a great beach scene. You know, I mean, there was a lot of private beaches still there, a lot of private surf spots that nobody really knew about, spots that you used to have to hike down to, you know, and then you tell a couple of girls about it, and then they'd bring all their girlfriends and watch the surfers. So, you know, it's just it was all just part of this summer scene, then brought in, you know, to the winter. We surfed through the winter as well, but it was just a great lifestyle. You know, Malibu down there was just, you know, Malibu, Topanga, all the beaches, county line, Staircase, Zeros. Had some great times down there, great memories.
Nice, yeah. And then, you know, back to like some of the biking and stuff you did. like, I mean, even, you know, you would go from surfing and then you'd get into the biking. Let's talk a little bit about some of the, when you got into mountain biking. And
Yeah, I got into mountain biking. Well, because when mountain bikes first came out, we're somewhere around 83, 84, I'm thinking. By 84, I had my first Schwinn High Sierra. I think there was Schwinn's and stump jumpers. That was the only thing. And then once that started to come out, I'm thinking, man, I've got to really get into this deep, because, you know, since I used to BMX race, I know this, you know, they're starting to race with the mountain bikes. And so I started really practicing hard. I go to work every day and come home and ride in the morning before I went to work, come home and ride in the afternoons again. And just really build myself up.
And then that was like, I mean, you kind of were competitive with both of those. You actually competed for a while.
I didn't compete in the mountain biking yet. No, I was just preparing to, because it was just getting started. And then I ended up having a bad accident.
Yeah. And, you know, I wanted to get into that and, you know, that part of your story, but like real quick, when you were doing the BMXing though, that was competitive. So
yeah, competitive. I did a BMX competitive, but yeah, at Chatsworth Park South, we used to, the Devonshire Division Police Department used to put on races every other Saturday. So I used to race BMX bicycle, and I also had a side hat car. My buddy Ray was the peddler, and I was the monkey. I was the one pushing the sides and throwing my weight side to side to keep the third wheel down. So, but yeah, it was great. It was very competitive. It was, you know, it was an active time back then for kids. I mean, there was no way we spent any time in the house. There's no computers, no computer games, stuff like that. We were outside every day, practicing and you know, and building bikes and trying to build them lighter and faster. You know, taking them apart, and just tearing them down, building them back up. You know, like I said, also, you know, repainting all the time too.
And that was part of your, like, where some of your art creativity would come into play too. You would add your own personal touches to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do different fades on the paints and different things. You know, tape it off, different, you know, combinations of colors and stuff like that. And then, like I said, you know, then do some sort of rear upholster of the seat to match it to the front, and different things like that.
Nice. And then going back to what you were referring to, you know, you started getting into the mountain biking, and then you know, unfortunately, that's when you suffered that accident. You want to share a little bit about that story?
Yeah, it was March 10th, 1985, real sunny day. I went for a bike ride that morning, came home, got in my VW van. I had a 1963 VW split window van. Went and had breakfast in the kitchen at my dad's restaurant. Drove out to Malibu, went to my friend's surf shop, Zuma J. Talked to him for a while about getting a new board and stuff, and then came back home and then decided to go for one more ride with a friend of mine. And we were headed towards Bell Canyon, taking a shortcut across the kind of construction lot where there's going to build new houses. So there's a dirt lot, a slope, a dirt lot, and a slope, which I'd gone down a week and a half prior to, and it was all slopes. So I went down the first slope and then across the second lot, down the second slope, across the third lot. And what should have been a third slope was 5.5 feet straight down and about 4 feet out and 2 feet up to build a retaining wall. And all of a sudden I got there and it just caught me by surprise. I said, oh my God, this is going to be a bad one. And all of a sudden I went to push my front end down because, I was already too late to try to pull up. And it hit my head. And as soon as I hit my head, I died. Immediately, as I was up in the clouds looking down at my body, I was going, oh my God, I'm dead. It's my time to go. I could see my body laying there motionless. I saw the wheels of the bicycle spinning, and I wasn't in it. I was not in my body. I was going farther and farther away. I thought, God, please don't take me now. Give me another chance. As soon as I said that little prayer, I came right back into my body. I'm laying there completely motionless, had no idea where my legs were. Didn't really feel any pain, could only shrug my shoulders up and down like this. And saw my wrist was kind of laying limp. I thought, damn, that's not a broken wrist. I don't feel any pain. I'm paralyzed. I'm still going to die. I mean, my lungs will probably fill with fluid, and I'll drown in my own fluid. And a buddy of mine, Dave, was about 20 yards behind me. So when he got to me, I said, hey, Dave, don't move me. I said, I broke my neck. Nah, you broke your collarbone. I said, no, I broke my neck. Go hike up to a house, call the paramedics, and call my parents. So he called both people, the paramedics at my parents' house. And my mother, I could hear a horn honking within minutes. And I said, Dave, go find me that. That's my mom's horn. Go find her and bring her to us. And he did. And she's an ex-Marine. She just kind of lost it a little bit, but, she kept me pretty calm. And then, waited for the paramedics to show up. I could tell them what I could feel, what I couldn't. And then they taped me to a board that it would be less traumatic to fly me out of there than drive me out of there. And so that's what they did. They flew me over to Northridge Hospital, where I was met on the roof. They, cut my clothes off me in the ER and taking x-rays and IVs and all kinds of monitors and telling me I needed to put a trach in because I was not going to be able to breathe. I broke my neck at C4-5. And I refused the trach, and they thought, well, you'll never make it through the night. They called the priest in to give me my last rites. I'm thinking, if I made it through the day, God's not going to let me go through the night. And so I still continued to refuse the breathing treatment, the tracheotomy. But then they wanted me to do breathing treatments for the next, every 2 hours. And I'm thinking, that's, if I get, pneumonia, it's for old man. How am I going to catch pneumonia? I'm 24 years old, in great shape. Because like I said, I've been riding every morning and every afternoon after work. And so I didn't really take the breathing treatment seriously. Within a week, I caught pneumonia. My left lung collapsed. I was literally fighting for every breath I took for the next 19 days while I was in intensive care. They put my head in traction the first night for like 7 nights. And then they put a halo on the following Saturday. And then every time they would sit me up, my neck was still slipping when they would take an x-ray. So they said, look, you got pneumonia really bad. You're not going to beat this thing. It's going to kill you if we don't get you sitting up straight. So I could only sit at about an 80-degree angle because I was really lightheaded. I'd pass out and stuff. My blood pressure still today is only 70/40. So anyway, so then they did a fusion on my neck. I went into surgery. They put some screws in my neck, took some bone pieces off my left hip, and fused 4, 5, 6, and 7 together. So my level of injury is 4, 5, and 6. But I've got some C6 function. I've got a little bit of wrist function here, where I can move my wrist, which allows me to pick stuff up, just because of the pressure, like a pen or a paper, chapstick, pen, a piece of paper. But it's, it gives me a little more independence, which is awesome, I just really fought for, like I said, every breath I took. And I fought like I was in a competition during that next 6 months in Northridge Hospital. And then I got exposed to, they were trying to teach me how to paint with a mouse stick at that point. And I was also doing some, ceramic work and stuff like that. But the mouse stick thing just was not fluid for me. There's a lot of great mouse stick artists out there like Johnny Erickson and stuff. And I knew of Johnny's work before I even had my injury. And, but it just wasn't fluid. So I kind of just didn't do anything artistically for quite a while. And it was just focusing on getting better for the next 2 years. And then got a small part-time job working for Science Diet Dog Food right after I got my first service dog with Weaver.
Yeah, so that was like part of your therapy. They wanted you to get into art as part of your recovery, and you didn't. And art was already a passion of yours. You didn't want to do the paint with your mouth, but at first I want to touch on just the fighting to get through that period. But then as you started recovering, what was the acceptance phase like for you, for this is life now?
Well, I accepted it right away because, like I said, when you die and you get a second chance, you get pretty grateful right away, And the other thing was, I was in there with 13 other people with spinal cord injury. One guy was drunk, jumped off a roof into a shallow pool. One guy was in a car with a drunk driver on high school graduation night. So he's blaming himself and blaming the driver. Another girl was in a car, a girl I happened to know. We went to Pepperdine together. Her friend fell asleep at the wheel, and they went off a PCH, and she ended up breaking her neck. So, and another guy was 13. And his friends thought it'd be funny if they loosened the front tire on his bicycle. Front tire fell off and broke his neck that way. I didn't have anybody to blame. Which I thank God for. And it wasn't an accident. I wasn't high on drugs. I wasn't drunk. it had nothing to do with any of that stuff. So it made it easier to accept. And then getting a second chance, like I said, in life, I just started being grateful for everything I still had. I just had to put the focus on that. I didn't really think I'd be paralyzed forever when the doctors were telling me, I'm going to get a miracle. By the time the 6 months comes, I said, I broke my neck March 10th. And when they were telling me I wasn't going to be surfing that summer, I'm thinking, no, I'll be out here before summer. I've got to surf this summer. And all of a sudden that started playing. I spent every night at the hospital, all of March, all of April, May, June, July, August. I got out late August, and it got just set in that it was pretty real. Plus nobody else was, well, one or two people end up walking out of there, but that wasn't my fate, but I've been blessed. I, had good insurance at the time, had a great family, a lot of support, a lot of friends that were, coming to visit me on a daily basis. And like I said, I used to be competitive, so I just had to take this to another level of being in a competition and just trying to get better for myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's your faith through this, through getting to know you, it has always been, I found, been such an inspiration to me. When I'm getting those woes me's and stuff like that, and then I get to, get a chance to talk with you and how you're able to, share your experience and everything. It seems like, I mean, like you said, after having God given you that second chance, he wasn't just going to give you that second chance and let it be wasted. So you get that second chance and you keep this gratitude and this positive attitude. But let's talk about, you're getting out, this is a part of your life, and you're out, and then you get back into the world, and then, kind of like the party scene.
Well, I was 28 days sober at the time I broke my neck. I had already stopped partying because I was going to school for Nick Harris Detective Academy. I had 1 day left to finish before I broke my neck. I broke my neck on a Sunday. My final day of school was going to be that Tuesday. So before I got out of school, I said, I've got to just stop partying. So I do a lot of cocaine and, hang out at the bars quite a bit. And I put all that to an end. And like I said, it was 28 days sober when it happened. So I continued that path. Guys would bring meetings to me at the restaurant, a lot of support. I mean, at the hospital, and stayed really positive that way. But then all of a sudden when I wasn't working 15, 16 months later, I'm running out of money. Well, maybe I could do a little cocaine and sobriety. So I started getting into, dealing, and I started feeling guilty after a month. And next thing you know, I'm using again and partying like crazy and selling kilos of cocaine. And I don't know, about 7-8 months later, come March 3rd, I'm surrounded by 17 FBI agents and getting arrested for 2 kilos of cocaine, conspiracy to distribute 20 on a bi-monthly basis to this person. So I ended up getting 6 months of house arrest, 5 years probation, 40-year suspended sentence. It was pretty much of a nightmare at that point. I had to move from where I was in the Valley to LA to get a new PO. And there's a lot of craziness went on at that point. But then,
you would, you shared, like I said, I've heard some of your story before, but, I always was curious, like, I mean, you're in a wheelchair and then you're dealing, like, was it like, kind of like, no one's going to ever suspect, me,
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought, but plus, she's the housekeeper. Just text me and say she's here. She's gonna walk through here in a minute.
Right.
Yeah, I did. I thought nobody's gonna suspect me. I thought, this is, but then I started partying. I didn't really care about anything at that point. I started hanging out with lots of girls and just partying and thinking I was really enjoying life once again. Like I got a great life back, but it was just it was all a lie.
Yeah, it's kind of like how our false self-worth or ego starts creeping in, especially when we're using, and
right.
You know, we just start thinking we're invincible once again. Even in your situation, you had that come back. And then, you know, I mean, so that's how we became friends, you know, through both being in recovery. But let's talk a little bit about, you know, when, you know, after that incident, when you were on probation, the FBI raided you, like, what was your turning point then to turn things around?
Well, I just, you know, got sick and tired. I mean, well, from that point on, I was in and out of the program for 20 years. I could get a year, 2, 3, and 4, but I was still doing, you know, crazy stuff. I was still out doing some ungodly behaviors. I was still hanging out in nightclubs, you know, after meetings, and going, you know, with sober guys, and going to strip clubs and just hanging out with all the wrong people. But then the guilt and the shame behind that stuff would eventually take me out again. You know, I could get a year, I could get 2, I could get 3, I could even get 4 years sober, you know, off and on, like I said, for a 20-year period. Then I started partying again one more time, and then started smoking cocaine really bad. I was spending all night, all day in the house here, you know, and then I was still in contact with my sober buddies. And then one day my buddy Mike Nassatir said, hey, you know, I've been talking to my friend Dallas and a couple other guys. They want you to give him a call. And I knew who Dallas was through program, and I also knew through his music. And I thought, you know what? There's somebody that doesn't even know me from Adam. I want at least the phone call to say, yeah. Hang on 1 second. The housekeeper's going to walk by. Are you going to be able to stop this for a second, edit it?
Not, probably not, but it's all right.
Okay. Anyway, so the housekeeper's going to walk in. I'm just going to tell her. She'll see.
All right, we'll get a cameo from the housekeeper.
There we go.
But yeah, so like, so you give Dallas a call, and yeah. And you know, it's funny too. I wanted to touch on, you know,
and my housekeeper's walking through. Yeah,
right.
It's okay. Come on through, and then you can just start on that side of the house.
And like we, you know,
yeah, it was Thursday.
Even in recovery, you know, there's still like people, places, and things, you know.
Right.
Even with our sober group, you know, there's still people, places, and things, and who you run with, you know, kind of dictates how well you're going to do. And I've, you know, I've been in that same situation, like you said, and like it's just a matter of time, you know. But so that you decide to give Dallas a call, and then let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I give Dallas a call, and just, you know, like I said, I'm thinking, hey, if this guy cares about me, doesn't know who I am, at least my phone call saying thanks, but no thanks. I don't know, 10 minutes in the conversation, he says, well, do you have a sponsor? I said, no, not at the time. Not at this time. He said, what do you do now? Why don't you show up at my house tomorrow at 2 o'clock? For some reason, I said, okay, I'll be there. And I showed up at his house at 2 o'clock the following day. And, you know, 15 minutes in the conversation, he's telling me, tell me about your sex life. And sex life, what kind of freaky guy is this? But, you know, we just started talking about, you know, going to strip clubs and doing different crazy things that ungodly behaviors. And because if you stop that type of behavior and we get that out of your life and you just make a lot of changes, you know, you'll stay sober. And so I trusted him, you know, and then he invited me back to his house that following Sunday for a men's group, and then introduced me to a men's stag group where everybody had to share. Just going around the room going, oh my God, everybody here's got to share, you know, can't hide the corner. And then invited me back again on a Monday night for another men's stag, which was just a room of remarkable people with long-term sobriety, a couple of newcomers, but just real stable guys, you know. And then they had started that meeting in Dallas's hospital room when he was getting a liver transplant. So it was just a solid group of guys that really cared, and just all they cared about was helping you get through what you needed to get through to stay sober one more day. And I just really, you know, gave it 100%, really trusted God was going to speak to Dallas to speak to me, and anything he asked me to do, whether it was in the big book or not, I'd be willing to do it. So that's what I did, you know, and really did everything he asked me to do, really worked the thorough steps, and, you know, and took commitments and meetings, and really got involved with men's groups. And it was a game changer for me. You know?
Yeah, and once you followed his advice, that's when it really started changing for you then.
Yeah, you know, if you really trust God to have be speaking through somebody that you trust, it's going to work, you know. And that's what I had to do. You know, I've had a changed life ever since then. I finally got back into art, and I was already painting, quite a few years ago, 23 years ago or so. As my first service dog got older, I kept thinking, one day I'm going to roll through a puddle of paint and have the dog walk through a puddle alongside of me, so that we could go across the board together and create a painting, so that I'd have a memory of he and I other than just a photograph. And I've got that painting, not this one behind me, but on the wall to my left. And so that's it, that's how that the whole art thing got started for me back once again.
Yeah, that was Weaver then, your original service dog.
My first, about a 90-pound full yellow Labrador dog. And,
and Weaver kind of was kind of helped you pick your way, your unique way of doing art. Then, kind of inspired that, or
yeah, God used the dog to get me back into it. Otherwise, I never would have had any reason to think, hey, I'm going to paint with the tires of my chair. Why would I want a reminder of my accident in my wheelchair on a daily basis? But also when God showed me the love that I had for that dog, and how that dog really got me more independence and got me more freedom. And, me and my buddy Mike, who I mentioned earlier, we started going to every major sporting event you could imagine. We went to Final Four playoff games together, the Final Four final game up in Seattle. We went to World Cup in '94, I believe it was, at the Rose Bowl, with all 6 games in the final game there. Been to a couple of World Series, one with the Dodgers and one with the Angels. Super Bowl, just everything. So and that dog was there to accompany me in all those events. So, every time I look at that painting, it just reminds me of, what a great time I had with that dog. And, that dog lived to be 15 and a half. He was together with me a little over 13 and a half years. Which that's,
And you kind of knew his time was coming up, and that's what inspired you guys to do that art together. And
that's when I realized, hey, wait, I can use the tires of my chair.
Yeah.
And I just started creating on a daily basis after work at a place where I was selling wheelchair accessible vans at the time. So I'd gotten to that. That was my final, my last job before getting into painting full time and creating art and doing gallery shows.
And that, that's, like your unique way of creating art then that took off because of that. Like you said, God using, Weaver to help inspire that, but also God kind of, continuing to use, your accident and what happened to you, what with the other, some of the other mindsets of the other patients that you had experienced the same thing that you were with, you're what could bring somebody down and just be, depressing and a depressing reminder you've used now as art to inspire positive messages for other people that enjoy your art, that now, you're spreading positivity through your art now.
Right.
And like what it has been like, and the other thing is, like, your art's so unique that you can't really replicate any pieces. Everything is a new creation.
Right. Yeah, there's no way somebody could replicate, art with the tires of the chair. Which is a good thing, with AI and everything else out there now, and everybody's, stealing everything, it'd be very, very tough to recreate my style, my type. I have taught quite a few kids how to paint with the tires of their chair. Some art class back in England, and these little kids are, using their tricycles and bicycles and stuff. They call it the Tommy Hollenstein art class. It's just cute. It's great. It's inspired a lot of kids. And, I get the opportunity every January to go down to the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach. And there's a disability awareness weekend. and I do 2 classes each, on Saturday and on Sunday, where we have kids in wheelchairs sign up to take one of my art classes, and they all go home with a 12-inch by 12-inch panel that they created and painted by themselves. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see the joy in their face and kids getting creative and being kids.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit about some of the opportunities now that you've been given to inspire other people with your art and just your story.
Yeah. You want me to bring some of the opportunities up, or did you have a list?
Yeah, like I mean, what you mentioned what you do with the kids, but like what other opportunities have you had to inspire others and share through your art?
I've met a lot of musicians. Slash was one of the first ones to show up at one of my shows one time, and I delivered a painting to his house, and we became really good friends and kept that friendship all the way till today. Even with his kids, I've watched them grow up and stuff. And I got introduced to other various musicians and stuff, and they tend to like the art, and so I've been having an opportunity to meet a lot of people I would not otherwise. Various people throughout all over the world. I've done shows here in LA, Phoenix, Seattle, New York. I've shipped art all over the world. One of the biggest opportunities, the most rewarding opportunities I ever got was I did a show at the Boston Children's Hospital with terminally ill kids. They flew me out there for about 5 days or so, and I did 2 days of painting with kids. And wow, those are terminally ill kids that, a lot of them have already passed away from that point. Just watching them coming in to do their chemotherapy and, painting during the day, and then I'd go visit them at night, and the girls would have their wigs off and laying on the nightstands next to them, and just watching those kids fight, and I got to do a big painting where they all got to participate as well, and they also each got to take a painting home. So, opportunities like that just are amazing. It's just it's a real blessing. God's opened a lot of doors for me that I definitely could not open for myself, and a lot of opportunities to bring joy. That's real meaningful joy.
Yeah, yeah.
In that area,
for sure. And then let's talk about some of your art shows that you have there locally. How are those events usually go, and what got you when you first started getting into doing the art shows? What was that process like?
Well, it was an unorthodox process that I went through to get that first show. I started showing up at galleries with my artwork and talking to different people. Some people would slam the door on me. Some people would talk to me and say, that's, you got to submit through a website and different things. And then all of a sudden I went local to a high-end gallery in Calabasas. I think it was back in 2005. And the lady really liked the art. And she said, all right, let me go pick up my calendar. Let's pick out a day. And I sold 9 paintings that night. The least expensive painting was about $1,600 that night. And it really gave me a boost of confidence saying, okay, I can really do this. And then from that point on, I just started hustling other shows, showing with a track record that I had that I could sell art. And other galleries would start taking me along. And I did a lot of submitting over computers and different things and different shows and museums and universities, stuff like that. It's a hard hustle, but it pans out, And then when we got into COVID, during lockdown, it was kind of everything shut down. There was an app called Clubhouse where it was like a private app. You have to be invited. Somebody invited me on. And I met people from all over the world on a daily basis. Some of us were on there like 15, 16 hours a day. Different art groups. You could sign up for, whatever different interests you had. There was a room going on for that, sometimes up to 3,000 people. And that's where I first got introduced to NFTs and, Bored Ape Yacht Club and all the different things. You just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I even I haven't dropped it yet, my own NFT project, which was a 20-foot by 400-foot painting, 1,000 panels that were 24 inches by 48 inches. I did 100 panels at a time, brought that last row to the front, started with another 100 panels, and then started with the same 4 colors, and that first group of 100, and added another color each group of 100, so we came up with like a little over at the very end, a little over 17 colors on the last group. But it went, 4 colors, 5 colors, 6 colors. And so hopefully that project will drop sometime in 2024. Because after the crash of crypto and stuff, it just didn't quite time it. Right. But
Yeah,
I
remember you
20-foot by 400-foot painting,
Yeah, I remember you sharing with us about when you were working on that, and you mentioned like how during COVID you got on to Clubhouse, and I know that was kind of when we got introduced as well because we had Zoom, and
Right.
What was like. I mean, what was a time of a lot of uncertainty, and I know a lot of brothers and sisters that we lost because they went back out, and I don't know. It was I look back at it as like a blessing, because I was able to meet so many people and connect with so many people like yourself that I would never have, had the opportunity to form relationships with. And even during that time, it's like I've shared with people before. It's like, both my daughters are young women and they got their own lives and they're running around with their friends. So I don't get to spend as much time with them as I used to. But during that time, it's like we got to rekindle our relationship and spend more time together again. So, I look back at, it goes back to that mindset, like you were talking about with the other people in the hospital too. Right. Just like, is this a blessing or am I going to let this be, drag me down? And I tend to be that guy a lot of times that goes to that lets it spin into the hole. And, that's why I'm so grateful to have guys like you in my life to remind me. And I've been working on that and getting better with like looking at the positive, being more grateful for the things, like that experience. I know also, like I've read that there's this place, the Dream Center, that you've done shows with or associated with. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a church downtown LA that I've been involved with about 27 years, 28 years maybe, since the onset. It's an old Queen of Angels hospital, but I started at the Dream Center. I was at a Christian conference, 90s, sometime in the 90s, 95, 94, and I met this girl there that her cousin had just started a church in downtown LA called the Dream Center. It was in a small building. So I met her there one day, and there were some guys in wheelchairs there, like 6 guys, and they were taking them to a basketball practice afterwards. And wow, this church really has a heart for disabled. So I really started going back every Thursday night and every Sunday. And then said, hey, we're buying this building. Why don't you come check it out? And I saw that they had a gymnasium there. I thought, wow, I could bring those guys. Instead of having to drive them to Pasadena, we could do our own wheelchair ministry out of here. So I got involved with that church right away, right when it was first moving to that building. And since it's been all remodeled, it's they've got about 750 people living on campus. They got one floor for homeless families to live there free of charge. They got a floor for homeless men. Homeless vets, men and women. And they've got a computer lab for them. We've got a floor for men coming off of drugs and alcohol. It's a 1-year program minimum. You can stick around 2 years and even go into leadership at the 3rd year. They got the same for women. They've got emancipator minors home for kids that were pulled out of the foster care system at the end. That's a 2-year program. They've got, a thrift store there that's free for the community to come, get clothes if they need it, some, suits and stuff for that they might need for an interview. People come there and eat on a daily basis. During COVID, there's serving 3 hot meals a day in a drive-through, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 2,500 people a day. They still have, food trucks that leave there on a daily basis. About 30 trucks a day go out and deliver food to the community. It was just amazing. It's what a church should be doing.
Yeah.
Especially with that drug and alcohol program. They just did their big gift giveaway with 2,500 bicycles and, 20,000 toys or something for the kids over the weekend. Saturday night, and, they had it all set up and lights and games and Ferris wheels and dance contests. And it's just beautiful what they do there. They do tutoring for kids, the whole bit. So it's just, I've been involved there, like I said, like 27, 28 years now. And that changed my life, seeing seeing a group of people that are so giving and so honest. I mean, if there was a dream center in every little city across America, there'd be no homeless. There'd be way less homeless. Probably 3%, 4% with the drug addicts and stuff, because they've given them an opportunity to really rebuild their lives. They're not just giving them a home and a free place to live. They're, teaching them and educating them, and also teaching them, Bible verses and, a strong relationship with God, which is what you're going to need to stay sober for a lifetime. It's really about building that relationship with God and keeping that on a daily basis and really putting God first in everything you do.
And that's definitely being a service. That church is definitely being of service. And, I mean, that's like I said, one of the biggest inspirations that, I get every time I talk with you or, hear you share is just how strong your faith is, and it sounds like Dream Center has been like a big part of the growth of that, and how you live your life today.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been a very big part. I'm very grateful for them. I mean, it's just amazing what an 18-year-old kid came down and did in, the last 27, 28 years. And it's just grown bigger and bigger on a daily basis. Yeah.
And, let's, before we get ready and wrap up and stuff, let's talk a little bit more about, how much your faith has grown. What else, I mean, you've already, you died and God gave you this second chance, but like, how many other like miracles and blessings have you experienced or witnessed on your journey?
Countless. I mean, sometimes even on a daily basis. I mean, just, through myself, through watching others growth, I see God do things for people that, unimaginable. If you really have your eyes open, you really pay attention to all the little things around you, there's miracles happening around us on a daily basis. Like I said, even like during COVID, I mean, for a guy like myself with a compromised lung condition, I've only got 37% lung capacity rather. I've gone through COVID 3 times. Thank God I never took that jab, because I know a lot of people that had a lot of health complications after that. But, and be able to stay healthy and just trust God to get you through anything.
Yeah, it's like he's brought you through all this already. It's like, what won't he bring you through, And obviously
exactly.
still got so much, work for you left to do here, man. And
oh yeah,
I know, like I said, every time I mean, I'm trying to get all choked up here, but, I just know how much you mean to me. And every time I talk to you, man, how much you inspire me. And I'm just so grateful and blessed to call you a friend today. And
I appreciate
what
that.
do you continue to do to, for your spiritual maintenance?
Well, every morning, the first thing I said, as soon as I wake up, I say, thank you, God, for another day which I can love and serve you. Please help me stay sober today. And I do some readings on a daily basis. First thing in the morning, I really talk to God. I got to do that before I can do any emails, texting, even checking my emails or texting. I've got to put God first, and then move about my day, and then just trust God, and expect something. I go to bed every night. Say, all right, God, what do you got? What big surprise you got for me tomorrow? Let's do something big. And you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, I've been out at lunch sometimes. Especially on a hot day here in the valley, I'll paint in the morning, get a little overheated, drive 20 minutes to Malibu, eat some lunch out there, meet some people, get into somebody who not having a good day, and just get to talk to them, encourage them. You just never know, So God's working on a daily basis if you just keep your eyes open. I'm looking forward to the new year. We're coming to the end of the year here. My motto for this year is, more in 24, and I'm expecting God to do big things. More shows, more art shows, more, people that reach out and need help and need to get introduced to either a church or sobriety, anything. I just have to hope to have my eyes and ears open.
Yeah, amen. And before we get ready and wrap up, I got a couple questions that I normally ask my guests. I'd like to ask you. Who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
My dad, my family, my mom, the church, and God.
Amen.
Yeah.
And then when God does finally call you home, what would you want your legacy to be? How would you want to be remembered?
Wow. I thought about that. That I was a giver, that I was always willing to give of my time, my resources, my friendship, my love.
Yeah, definitely. And are there any causes or organizations that you support and encourage other people to check out?
Well, Canine Companions for Independence. That's where I got my service dog. They're all over the country here. Triumph Foundation, which is a Spinal Cord Injury Foundation. I'm getting ready to go to their Christmas party in a couple hours today at Northridge Hospital. They're very involved with the Reseda California Spinal Cord area. They do sporting events. They do mentoring. They show up at the hospital on a daily basis for people that are newly injured, and talk to them, introduce them to support groups, and just do whatever we can. I've been trying to do as much as I can to help the founder, Andrew Skinner, build that as much as I can as well.
And then any message you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
Just stay strong, man. Trust God. Thank you for your service. My mother was a Marine. She was stationed over in Hawaii for 5 years back in the 50s. But yeah, just stay strong and trust God, and that's it. Enjoy.
Yeah, I think all the times that we've shared, I think that's this is the first time I found out that your mother was a Marine too.
Oh wow,
that's awesome. My because I told you I think that my dad, he was a World War II Marine in the invasion of Okinawa and stuff. So both raised by Marines.
Exactly. She was tough.
And then
they made a good difference.
Yeah, and then like for anybody that any of the audience that's like watching and getting to hear your story and know about you for the first time and want to like support your art and check out your art and what you have going forward, where would you send them?
Go to my Instagram, Tommy Hollenstein, or my website, TommyHollenstein.com, Facebook, Tommy Hollenstein. I'm on all the platforms, TikTok, the whole bit, but everything's under Tommy Hollenstein.
Nice. And then Tommy, I forget, what was the, I remember there was like a little mini documentary about you that was on Vimeo that I got to watch. It was very inspiring, that I would definitely encourage people to check out, but I forgot what the name of that was.
It was called Rise. If you Google my name, you might find it there. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But if you put Tommy Hollenstein, a lot of stuff will come up. Watch the one that says Boston Children's Hospital or the water skiing one. There's a lot of fun little videos out there that have been different interviews and TV shows and TV newscasts. And yeah,
I like to see when I was looking at some of the older stuff. I definitely like the ones back when you were sporting the Mohawk too.
You like that, huh?
Yeah. Man, Tommy, thank you so much for your time, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I'm so blessed to have you a part of my life today, and you mean the world to me, man. And I appreciate you taking the time today to do this with me.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, Bill. Cherish our friendship. I'm glad I got to do this, and hopefully it reaches a lot of people.
Yeah, I hope so too. And then hopefully in 2024, I'll get to come out there to California and meet you in person, see
Absolutely.
Some of the artwork.
Wait for this rain to go away. Get some warm weather.
Yeah, sounds good. And then real quick before I let you go, one last favor. Do you mind cutting a promo ID for me? Just introduce yourself and you're listening to today's Boondoggle?
Yeah. This is Tommy Hollenstein. You're listening to today's Boondoggle with Bill and Tom.
Awesome. Tommy, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. And
Thank you.
have a good time at your party tonight.
I will. It's going to be this afternoon. Yeah, it should be a good group of guys. Last year we had about 63 guys and girls in wheelchairs. That's pretty interesting.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing, man. Well, thanks again. Thanks again for your time and all you do, man. And we'll be in touch.
All right. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye.